So the foreword, I, I'll admit I really, really, really want this to stay in the actual book. I don't know if I'll be able to get it past whatever publishers I actually find someday, but I am definitely going to fight tooth and nail to keep it in. I mean, metafiction in general keeps me interested. To some extent, it's kind of a soap opera-y in a lot of cases, but I don't know, it's always a little bit interesting for me, and I wanted to make sure that that is available to people to know. And one of my biggest goals when writing the book was to make something that I would enjoy reading. And one of the things that I enjoy most about a lot of the fictional universes that I enjoy most is nothing to do with the actual canon. It's all the fan fiction and fan art and everything that crops up around it. Because the odds that the author is the most talented artist among all of the people who end up reading his/her work is fairly unlikely. I don't think that's well, the point is that I wanted to give a lot of leeway to the fan fiction, fan artists, whatever. And having everything go through translations means that there's an argument that stuff has been lost in translation or added in translation, which means that you have all the room in the world to make your alternate universes and whatnot, and just let it go. And that's one thing that I really think adds to this. And one thing I had pointed out to me is that some people just aren't going to believe that Ryan exists. He does, whatever. And, I mean, it's not relevant in the most part to believe it or not, but the notion that he has this black notebook and that is an existing thing does kind of blur the line between where the fiction ends and reality begins. And, I mean, that's a little half-baked at best, but, I mean, it's a fun idea, and if people get into that, that's fantastic. There's a little bit in there that seems a bit pretentious, all that with everybody having their own world inside of them. That's, I mean, it's really my philosophical points, but it seems kind of like I'm pandering to myself because it doesn't really add all that much. Might want to just go ahead and look at that later. Might want to cut that, edit it down to some extent. And, I mean, the entire story with Ryan really is mostly superfluous. It doesn't add anything to Jack's story, so including it in the novel may... Honestly, it kind of reminds me of The Princess Bride, in which which was written by Will Goldman as ostensibly an adaptation of the original Morgenstern book of the same name, which doesn't exist. Goldman wrote the abridged Good Parts version wholesale out of his own brain. And I enjoy that it very much points out that everything is a fiction within it, because it makes the notion, makes all of his stories about Morgenstern seem that much more real. That isn't really what I'm going for here, but I really can't help but be reminded of it. And I mean, that's honestly anything that connects my work with Princess Bride is fantastic, because that's one of my favorite pieces of literature. That it's mostly personal taste, but I think that there's a lot there beyond the semi-cliched plot lines around Buttercup and Wesley. But I guess if I'm talking Princess Bride, I've mostly run out of things to talk on the foreword. Putting the foreword after chapter 1 is a little bit awkward, I will grant, but I mean, I don't really mind it. I think that's one thing that one more thing I should talk about. With the Black Notebook Project, I very much encourage here and in other places that the reader takes a very active role in the reading. It's very easy to be a passive reader, just to look at the words and connect the dots, have this plot laid out to you in much the same way that you would watch a movie or a TV show or just that medium. I think that reading can be a much, much, much more active thing. And I guess the easiest analogy I can draw is to video games. That's easy for me, at least. That the designers have a very clear way of how you're supposed to play these games and how you're supposed to get from point A to point B to point C, but then you get players who say, no, this is too easy for me, I'm gonna do it a little bit harder by never grabbing the sword in the first act, or I'm just going to break the game wide open and go straight from point A to point C to point X so that I can finish the game in 15 seconds, or whatever. I think that there's a lot of potential there in book reading as well, that you can get more out of the story if you don't insist upon reading it as it has been written. Skipping around in the book is something I'll be encouraging later, and here I encourage midway through that if you aren't enjoying the chapter, to just go ahead and skip to the next bit, because it'll probably get more exciting. And I mean, that's applicative to a lot of the chapters, to be honest. The exciting stuff is surrounded by a whole lot of world building, but I'm getting ahead of myself there. And but yeah, I really like this bit. There's, I mean, clearly little bits and pieces that could be tweaked and whatever, but mostly I think it's pretty solid as is. And next time we'll be getting on with chapter 2.